Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Grenada Matters. Back with my co-host, Mr. Earl J. Maitland. How are you doing, Earl?
I'm okay, Ingram. How are you? How's everything?
How did you do that with your mouth closed? You
What is
said it
that?
with you did it with your mouth closed. That was amazing. How did you do that?
Oh, okay. There's so much corruption in Grenada. The Ministry of Labor continues to fail the people. I actually practicing to be a ventriloquist or something. I'm looking at my options. Yeah,
Well,
looking at my
it,
options.
it's a fantastic talent that you've got there. Um, I've heard of puppets before, but this is a new thing. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
how?
The,
So
the,
in your state of frozenness, how are you anyway?
I'm fine. I'm hanging in there. I'm trying to remain as hopeful and as positive as
Okay.
one could be in a state that is so filled with so much corruption. I'm here, I'm here, I'm hanging in.
We have also with us tonight Master Melvaughn COUTAIN. Master COUTAIN, how are you doing?
Good. I'm okay. I just reaching from working with some kids today. Um, doing some therapy on a guy foot. Back home here, I just received a call from you guys. You want to do something this afternoon, so I'm here. Whatever wisdom I could give, I will.
Fantastic. We will also to have Hudson George on the show tonight, but at the
Yeah.
moment we've got technical difficulties, so we're just waiting to hear, see whether Hudson can join us. But we will go ahead and hope that Hudson can join us at some part of the show. So Earl, still in your frozen state, talk to us. How's the show going tonight? What are we discussing?
Yeah, we there are certain things that I would love to speak about. We have listed them in the ad that was posted for tonight's program. And it would start off with the petition that has been arranged for the asylum seeker who was incarcerated since August 2019, a gentleman who came to Grenada seeking assistance from persecution. We will also discuss briefly the Ministry of Labor, the inefficiencies of the Ministry of Labor. We would also discuss the Ombudsman, and of course, there is the much needed assistance for the getting materials for the building of the home for Ms. Davina Lewis, who came to the people of Grenada asking for assistance for her and her three children. So that is the route we would take. Most importantly, I'd like to begin with the asylum seeker who has been locked up at Her Majesty's prison since August 2019. Right, Ingram?
Let's talk about that.
Right. So, for the persons who might not be aware, and one reason why persons might not be aware, it is because the local media has been censored for the longest while by persons in government and persons affiliated with the government. The media has been censored, so persons like myself who stand for country and who speak in the best interest of public morality and justice for all and equality for all, we will not be given a proper representation. Many times, going on to the local media, we would have our arguments not only rebutted, but it is also censored and cut up in such a way that it does not represent what we're actually planning on stating. So there is a gentleman who came to Grenada from Ghana who escaped persecution, who came to save his life, desperate and in need of the assistance of humankind. One would have expected that Grenada, such a country that has been marketed for love and and so forth, would have accepted this gentleman and allowed this gentleman to go through a process that would be relevant enough for someone who is seeking asylum, right? But this is not what had happened. This gentleman was actually brought to court, and within one day, a deportation order on the same day, sorry, Ingram, on the same day of the court hearing, according to the documents that have been presented by government officials, a deportation order was issued against this asylum seeker, um, which is very not only unfortunate but very it is hard to comprehend how one would send back a refugee and asylum seeker to a place where he is running for his life without doing any proper investigations. And this is based on the documentation that has been presented by government officials stating that the deportation order was done on the same day as the gentleman went to court. Now, this gentleman was left at Her Majesty's prison for 9 months, and there was no one assisting this gentleman until, of course, Miss Heresia Willis, attorney at law, who we are fortunate enough to have in Grenada, came to this gentleman's aid, and she's acting on behalf of this gentleman, trying to get him out. Since the last 6 or 7 months, we have been working tirelessly. We have been in communication with government officials, and we have been trying to assist this gentleman with going through the process of seeking asylum. Um, we must also mention, I must also mention that many Grenadians, approximately 1 dozen Grenadian nationals, have sought asylum in other countries. Seeking asylum is nothing new. Seeking asylum is an entitlement of all human beings, right? This gentleman was locked at Her Majesty's prison, not a detention center, but a prison where we house persons who have been accused of rape and murder and so forth. This is a gentleman who came to seek asylum. Um, Despite our many attempts, this process, this asylum process, has not been taken seriously by the Canadian government. Despite all our attempts, this gentleman's innocence from crime has not been taken seriously. To date, over 400 and something days, this gentleman still remains at Her Majesty's prison. This gentleman is still in need of our help, despite the investigations that were done by the United Nations offices and so forth, with recommendations which came to the Grenadian government, official recommendations from the United Nations, despite the fact that at least 5 persons in Grenada, business people and other individuals, who came forward and said, you know what, we understand what it is to be on the run for your life. As our brother's keeper, we are willing to sponsor this gentleman. Recommendations, which right? We are willing to sponsor this gentleman, but it has been denied. These efforts have been denied by the Grenadian government. So we have had the assistance from one lovely lady, who has started a petition. And that petition, we are asking persons to please read the petition. We are aware that, persons are busy at this time. It is a very unfortunate period where we are faced with COVID and the loss of jobs and so on. But we have to remember that there's a gentleman whose only only crime was entering a country without going through immigration and customs because he was trying to save his life. And to correct what he did, he actually presented himself to the Red Cross building. And this is how the Grenadian authorities became aware of this gentleman's presence in Grenada. Because we have to remember that the failures of the current government, failures are extraordinary, right? This gentleman presented himself as an asylum seeker to the Red Cross building. This is how the government of Grenada became aware of his presence in Grenada last year, August 2019. Now, to me, as an individual, this would say to me that this gentleman's case is very genuine. It seems genuine because he already entered the borders without any knowledge, customs and immigration having any knowledge of him being here. Instead of trying to blend in with the Grenadian public, this gentleman presented himself to persons in authority and said he is here, he's on the run for his life, and he is seeking asylum. And he would like the assistance of the Grenadian government and the Grenada Red Cross to get that asylum. Now, the petition is online. There's much information. It is not long. It is about a 2 minute or 3 minute read. There's also a video that has been posted for persons who are not, privileged enough to be able to read, or persons who do not favor reading. There's a video there. It is very easy. You just click on the petition. All your information would be entered from your Facebook, all the necessary information. Nothing that you really have to fill out. The only part which is optional, which means you do not have to fill it out, it's your choice, is the part where it says, why are you in support of setting this innocent man free? Right? So you can put in there that you are aware that at least 12 Grenadian nationals were successful in seeking asylum. You can put in that you are aware that if your life was in danger or the life of a loved one was in danger, that you would also assist them with getting out of their home country where their life is threatened and to elsewhere just to save their lives. You could put in anything, whatever reason it is. But that is the situation. The petition is posted on the Grenada Matters page. It is posted on my page. It is posted on other pages. What we're asking persons to do is to share, to support this gentleman so that he may go through the process, right? With the amount of corruption that we have just in Grenada alone, many persons like myself who are being victimized on a daily basis would eventually have to seek asylum elsewhere. So we are aware of what corruption does. It chases persons from their homelands, it endangers lives and so on. And we have many persons who are being victimized by the current government. The gentleman here needs our help. The petition is very simple, and we're just asking persons to support because we need to continue showing empathy and putting ourselves in the situation. And only then I believe that we will make the better choices, right?
You talk about victimization, Earl. In your
Yeah.
just briefly, victimization. How victimization affects you on a daily basis,
Well, I would say, Ingram, on a daily basis, how does victimization affect me?
or how
Well,
are you
first,
punished, or how are you punished for
uh-huh.
speaking out like this?
Well, Ingram, I have been a victim of the system for a very long time. It all increased. It evolved into something worse in 2016. I have a labor case that has been ongoing since 2016. We are now almost in 2020. This was January of 2016, where I was the shop steward in a company and I was dismissed, illegally dismissed, wrongfully dismissed for executing the duties of a shop steward. And for persons who are not familiar with the term shop steward, it is the union representative for the workers. Now, I assisted persons with getting permanent and persons with getting on the persons who were convinced by the management of aviation services of Grenada that they were contract staff. I was able to educate them to the point where they understood that they were deceived by the management and they were permanent staff. For doing things like that, I was fired. As a citizen and a law-abiding citizen of Grenada and as a taxpayer, I am entitled to the rights, the privileges of what the law allows. Like many persons in Grenada, going to the Ministry of Labor has been a waste of time. It has been frustrating. We have persons who just sit in the ministry doing nothing for the last decades or so. You know, all these persons we refer to as those old dinosaurs. We have persons like Cyrus Griffith Lima Frederick, who's the PS. We have Peter David now. We had Oliver Joseph. You know, and this is where our monies as taxpayers are being wasted in the Ministry of Labor. Even today, 5 years later, we have persons who are still saying publicly and privately, and persons who are contacting me about the failures of the Ministry of Labor, where persons' livelihood are being affected, right? If you are unable to work or are unable to resolve a labor matter, now, money is an issue in Grenada, and if you don't have money in Grenada, you can't eat, you can't live, you can't do anything, you know. But I am very thankful that I have been blessed by the Lord. I'm still here surviving. Victimization has not only come in that form. I have been censored on the media many times. In fact, I remember just because I am one who speaks in the interests of public morality. I was threatened by the head of the Prime Minister's security, the head of security, Cletus St. Paul, a gentleman who has now faced charges for rape or forcible sex or whatever it is. But this gentleman, just in approximately 2 years ago, threatened me, threatened my life for attending a public rally. Um, it was very unfortunate in Graham to see that the Prime Minister, the Minister of National Security, when reporting it to him in the public arena, in front of the gentleman who threatened me, his head of security, he just had a smirk on his face and he laughed it off. And this is something that should not be taken as a joke, especially by the Minister of National Security. It is a lot of victimization, a lot of taxes here and there. There are certain places that one may not go due to the corruption and so on. I mean, I have been told by um, the one representative from the Public Service Commission that I myself should seek asylum, right, because of the things that I face in Grenada. As a matter of fact, as a person who speaks in the interests of all Grenadians, when many times when I go to public offices, I would be refused entry, or I would be told that they'd contact me, and then you'd see months pass, years pass. I mean, we have the Queen's representative, who is the Governor General, Mrs. C. Lagrenade. I've been calling Miss Lagrenade, going to that expensive mansion that taxpayers' monies are being spent to house this lady, although she has houses, right? And we have a lot of homeless people in Grenada, but thousands of dollars are spent to house this lady who refuses to do her job. And she's even guarded by police officers, guarded by police officers. Um, and many times when we go there, she refuses to come out. I have had so many conversations with her secretary, and the secretary continues to tell me that she has passed on the information to Miss Lagrenard, the Governor General of Grenada, who is supposed to be basically independent, right? The appointee, the representative of Her Majesty the Queen in Grenada. But this is not the case in this corrupt country. You know, it is very sad that we have Miss Harrison Willis always trying her best to get this asylum seeker out. I am positive that the Governor General is aware because this has been on local media for the last 8 months or so. And I am positive that she has not contacted the attorney for the gentleman to find out how is it that she can rectify such a situation as the Queen's representative, as one who should really appreciate human rights and the right of seeking, the right of saving one's life, right? Preserving one's life. But all in all, in Graham, as I said, I'm very hopeful that things will change. As hopeful as one could be in a country that is so corrupt and led by a deceitful, corrupt individual such as the Prime Minister. But I'm here, and we're trying our best to keep the people educated and see what changes we can make through the ballots. But we are here, Ingram. We are here.
You know, I was going to say to you that is it not election time next year or this year?
Actually, last election was in 2018, in March 2018. Normally it's 4 to 5 years for a term. So
Okay.
that would bring it up, 4 years would bring it up to 2022. So
Okay.
2021, I don't believe, that would be the end of that cycle. Um,
So
but
2022. So,
yeah, most likely 2022, 2023,
well, I don't. What I don't
right?
understand is why do they allow this to continue? Grenadians allow this to continue and stand for this and like just turn a blind eye to the whole situation. I don't understand it. I've never understood it. Why?
Well, my
You know.
brother, I also do not understand it. I do not understand it. And in order to understand it, we need to think like the people who are committing such chaos, such tragedy to the constitution of this country and to the country in general. So persons like yourself and myself, we would never understand why persons will continue to allow this corruption to continue. Because this is not a part of who we are, right? We do not have that kind of personality or those characteristics to enable corruption, right? But what I believe, based on my observations, we have had situations where the elections were rigged. It was announced after March 2018 by the supervisor of elections, Mr. Alex Phillip. Nothing was done. There's also the fact that the government of the day has been going around spending monies, passing out windows, fridges, doors, tables, you name it. They so basically what they are doing is allowing persons to sell themselves and sell their votes and sell their country to keep this corrupt organization in power by paying them off with a little rum in the rum shop here, there, everywhere. And there is a code of conduct that has been passed on to the electoral office and to each political party. And we have been asked as political parties to sign on to this code of conduct. But what happens, the new national party does not sign on to that code, although that code comes from persons who represent of Grenada from a non-political point of view, from a non-governmental point of view, right? We have had situations that have been brought to different entities, but in a situation where we have one corrupt individual or one corrupt entity, such as the NNP, in charge of all the investigative bodies, including the Ombudsman, the Integrity Commission, the Public Service Commission, the Royal Grenada Police Force, you name it, they're in charge, right? This is what happens. This is what happens. Investigations are not done properly. Judgments are not carried out. I mean, we're seeing it in the court system, where we have had the ex-cabinet secretary, Ms. Gemma Blaine Thomas, who brought the Prime Minister, Keith Mitchell, to court. She brought Keith Mitchell to court as a man who took away her bread and butter, her livelihood from her job. He actually moved her from her job, and she went to court and she won. And the court said that this lady, this ex-cabinet secretary, who there was no reason to remove her from a job, should be compensated by the Prime Minister, by the people of Grenada. And the Prime Minister has refused. The Prime Minister and his government they have refused to honor the judgment of the court. This was not something that the court was asking for. Now, under normal circumstances in Graham, persons on the panel, are present, good night to you, and they can confirm. Anytime a court gives an order for picked up with a piece of marijuana, and he went to court, and the court's judgment was that this gentleman should be fined $500 or pay $500, and that gentleman did not pay that money, then that gentleman would be, police officers would be sent after that man and he would be sent to prison. But this does not happen in the case of Keith Claudius Mitchell, the people of Grenada. Corruption that we speak of, it is very evident, right? The control and the non-separation of these independent bodies that we have in Grenada, it is very evident that they are not what they portray themselves to be.
It's evident that something has to be done clearly, and by shows, not just Grenada Matters, but other shows that are going to come out and speak the truth, not copycat, but speak the truth and let the truth be known. All you can do is provide the truth and the evidence and the facts, and then the people in Grenada around the world can then make a decision. That's all we can do, and that's all we intend to do on the show. Right, we also have on the show, by the way, Mel, we have on the show, let me just bring out, we also now have on the show with us Hudson George. Good evening, Mr. Hudson. How are you?
Good evening, good night to you, Mr. Jones. Well, I had a little technical, but I found it out,
All the way from Canada. How you doing, brother?
Well, I'm here, man. We get some snow yesterday,
Well, no snow here in London. So you've just been listening to Earl. What's been your thoughts and how have you felt about what's been going on in Grenada?
Well, what's going on in Grenada presently, I must say good night to Mr. Ingram and Mr. Melvaughn and Mr. Earl. But what is going on in Grenada is the lack of democracy. And it started after the invasion. After the American invaded Grenada, they didn't restore democracy. The British, if you got to build a house in a proper way, they give you a plan to build the house, to lay the foundation to build the house. So the Constitution of Grenada is a plan, and you go by the plan. You lay the foundation, you build the house. They say the house have 5 bedrooms, where the kitchen is, where the bathroom is, or in Canada we say washroom, where the drawing room is, where the living room, everything, or what, how you say. But in Grenada, we don't go by the Constitution in Grenada. What we did, when the PRG was in power, they suspend the Grenada constitution, and we were being governed by People's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, People's Law. And they promised to give us a new constitution, but they were not doing it. Instead of doing it, the revolution was locking up people they didn't want. And then they we moved from what you call the New Jewel movement to the PRG. And up to today, you can ask the so-called revolutionaries if they ever heard about a revolution that was made by a group of people, but then the revolution name changed. The Bolshevik Revolution was the Bolshevik Revolution. The Cuban Revolution is the Cuban Revolution. The Sandinista Revolution kept its name. The ANC kept its name. ZANU-PF kept its name. You know?
So what did Grenada do, being so unique?
What they did, and they're not telling you, is that after the revolution fall, we had a group in exile called the GDM, the Grenada Democratic Movement in exile. Kit Mitchell and Francis Alexis was the main people in the GDM. And Grenadians in abroad was supporting some Grenadians support the revolution abroad, and some support the GDM. So after the revolution fall, and the NNP came to power, the American put Blaze to rule Grenada, and you had Kit Mitchell and Francis Alexis in the first NNP party. Then Francis Alexis and Judge Brizan and Tillman Thomas broke away, and they're going to find the NDC party. So it's a splinter of the original NNP. Kit Mitchell stayed in the NNP, and he was able to win the party leadership from Blaze. And even though Blaze was the prime minister still, he was no more the leader of the party. So Blaze prorogued parliament, and he died in power. And when he died, Ben Jones continued, and he had to call an election. When he called the election, the NDC won the election. The Brizan group. Brizan didn't take the power, he put Brafitt, because Brafitt was an older guy. And Brafitt planned to give Brizan the party. But when Brafitt gave Brizan the party, it was about 6 months before our next election. Mm-hmm. So what happened? We had chance to create democracy, and we didn't do it. So we have what you had, Kit Mitchell in the GDM promised to restore democracy. Blaze planned to restore it. He didn't do it. And the NDC came. They never did it because the PRG suspend public servant or public workers pension plan, where you work for the government and you get a full pension. They destroy it in 1983, just before the revolution fall, and they say NIS. But the money the NIS is giving, this is not the type of money what could keep up a civil servant before a certain time in 1983. The post-revolutionary governments, they never restored. They never restored the pension plan. Instead of they do it, they pass law in parliament for politicians who serve 2 terms to get pension. So they condemned the PRG, but they kept the PRG law that take away workers' pension. So they violate the democracy. Secondly, the PRG, when the NDC came to power in 2008, they named the Penicillin Airport after Maurice Bishop. So once you name the airport after Maurice Bishop, based on Grenada Constitution, Maurice Bishop was a dictator. So you legitimize dictatorship in Grenada, and then you have a lot of ex-revolutionary people in both the NNP and the NDC party. And what they're doing, we don't know if they are still friends or what game they're playing. And they're on Facebook monitoring what you post. And most of them, they live in the United States and Canada. They claim to be Marxists, but they live in capitalist world, and they monitor you like if they're working for an agent. So the state Grenada is in now. Grenada does not have democracy. And the shooting of the young man for the spliff of marijuana, the prime minister has been speaking on two sides of his mouth for a long time. Before the shooting of the young man for the spliff, he said police shouldn't bother with somebody with a spliff. But the police saw a young man smoking a spliff of marijuana, chase him and still shoot him. The young man wasn't armed. Now, the prime minister, the head of security in the country, is not the commissioner of police or the acting commissioner of police. They didn't suspend the policeman or put him on leave for shooting the young man. Even in North America, where blacks been shot by racist cop, if they will still put the racist cop on leave to have the investigation. In Grenada, they didn't do it. And then the father of the young man, perhaps he became angry, so he took the law into his own arm. But if the government had suspended the policeman who shot the young man, the father of that young man would not have go bazooka with a knife in tongue will stabbing policeman. So Grenada doesn't have democracy. And secondly, we have a politician went to 2 schools in St. Andrews and giving small children dust mask away with the color green, which is the NNP government party color, that's the political color, with the politician face. So this is not democracy. In a democratic country, the prime minister was supposed to fire that minister. So there is no democracy in Grenada.
I want to hold you right there. I want to hold you right there because I believe Earl's got a clip of the two-forked tongue of our current prime minister. Earl, have you got that clip you can spin for us?
I don't have the clip at the moment, but I could try to locate it.
So please do.
But I wanna
please do find. Let's bring you back on. Bring you guys back on again. Thank you for that. Thank you for that,
yeah,
Mr. George.
You see, the thing is, I want to second what Mr. George said. And as the Minister of National Security, the Prime Minister of Grenada, and as a 74-year-old that has been in government for decades, as a gentleman, an older gentleman who knows better, who is aware of what we should call stupid talk, right? How it influences the young people. The Prime Minister should be doing much better than he is doing. Because when a person listens to the Prime Minister who sits in Parliament and passes laws, right? When a young person sits and listens to this gentleman saying that the police should not be running down a man or shooting a man who has a joint. The police should be going after those persons in shirt and tie who are raping our children and so on. Now, that would encourage a young man or a young lady to go to the streets and smoke that same marijuana, which remains illegal today in Grenada. And what is going to happen? The police are forced to do their job because marijuana is illegal. So the Prime Minister, in fact, what he is doing is trying to appeal to the ignorance of the ignorant, and he is trying to discredit the police force who is enforcing laws which he has the authority, the Prime Minister, has the authority to alter or to remove because he sits in Parliament with his other cabinet ministers, and they could present whatever bill at any point in time to decriminalize marijuana or to make it legal, whatever it is that he likes. You know, when things happen in Grenada, it happens to the fancy of the prime minister. It does not happen in the best interest of people. So by making such a statement, this man has now endangered not only the lives of civilians, the young ones who would be going and getting marijuana, because the prime minister is basically saying that it is okay, but he is also endangering the lives of police officers who will go out there and try to enforce that law, right? That is what is happening. So I just wanted to add that to what Mr. George has said when the prime minister actually made his official comment to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique about the
Mel,
situation.
Melvon, you've been waiting patiently for a while. I know you're itching to say something.
No, I listening. I listening. Uh, I listening. Hudson come out real hot tonight. Yeah. As I always say, guys, I'm not into politics, right? My interest. I live in this community. I try my best. I work hard. Ingram, was in Grenada.
Yes.
You was there on the ground with me. We work hard, and the reason I talk out because I face victimization. Earl talk about victimization just now, and I happened to see a newspaper yesterday talking about the Minister of Labor and whatever it is, and I asked the question: did the minister settle this matter with Earl? The minister is there as a public servant to act on our behalf. And to date, none of these guys deal with the matter with Earl. Now, the person that advising the same Minister of Labor is the champion of workers, which is Chester Humphrey. And when you're talking about asylum seeker, if you go through history, and Hudson could back me up with that, Chester Humphrey and Jim Wallerly was in America fighting and seeking for assistance with Grenada with Decima Williams. And they get arrested. Okay? Now, they came back here and then the revolution. But at some point in time, the FBI came here to extradite them back to the US for trial for incident what was happened. Now, people did petition in Grenada for Chester not to go back to America because he was on a hunger strike and stuff. Jim Mullally was in England. They went there to his apartment and he went across to Sweden and he seek asylum in Sweden. He was to come back to Grenada in 2012, but he did come back, but he come back in a box. Okay? Now, this happened. So why it is a brother from Africa? I just follow all what's going on in Africa, and most of some of the African leaders and them that's on the Facebook page, most of them I get information out of Africa because it's my people. And Africa have us in the diaspora as part as African. It's nothing, and they wanted the border thinking Africa is changing. So it's not nothing about Nigeria and South Africa. Is one passport, one currency. That is what they work. They're working towards a union, the United States of Africa. Now, somebody come in here and ask for assistance. If you can assist them, why it is you don't send them back out of the country? Why it is you choose to put them in a place where they're not supposed to be? And then you have some of the same guys who was on this in 1983 with the massacre that take place on the fort in charge of the prison, who was inside of there, is part of that keeping this man inside of there. And also some of them is leading the country today, and to date none of them is saying anything. Now, I support NDC for years, okay, and I'm not a member of no political party, but I look at some, I as a person believe in country. And this, when I do something for country. And I see NDC as a party who do something over there, they do something to try to see if they could uplift Grenadian, let Grenadian to help themselves in their being dependent on loans and grants. No. I never heard nobody from NDC side say anything about this man in the prison with all the effort people is talking and trying out here. I have nothing not from the political leader, the PRO, any one of them. And when you talk about the other opposition leader, like Tobias Clement, I never heard him say anything neither. You're talking about all this Gino and this women groups and all these different human rights group. I heard nothing from them on the radio. Even all this programming, the Godfrey program in the night, all the talk, all the town hall meetings, what is going on. The Grenadian, I heard nothing from this Grenadian saying anything. Look what is happening to this man. Even the young man that gets shot, you heard nobody saying, and everybody's quiet about it. And then they're asking people, support me now to get back into office as an opposition. But how could you support
Melvin, I'm
me and
glad
you're
you
not dealing with
talked
the
about
issues?
other particulars doing shows like ourselves. But my challenge is to Grenadians in media, or Grenadians trying to do media. This is a perfect opportunity for you to speak out. It's a perfect opportunity for you to use your platform, not to be a personality, but to actually do something that means something, not just for yourself, but for somebody else, for your people. And the one thing you could do once you've got a platform is to speak about those things that really matter. Okay? Matters that people are usually censored from talking about. Why do you want to talk about things that people can all talk about? Talk about things that are censored. That's your challenge. So if you want to be a copycat, if you want to copy and thief and take from other people and not be original, at least if you're thieving, learn something from your thieving and learn to speak about things that matter on your platform. I just wanted to say that, by the way. I think you all know what I'm getting at. I want to also go to this clip here that I've got. I think which clip shall we use? Do you want to use my clip or do you want to use your clip, Earl? Earl, you there? Oh.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Anyone, whichever one is
okay,
easiest.
we've got a little clip here. If I put it on the big screen. This one here, it's called Don't Go There. And I want to say whoever did this clip was an absolute master. But let's play it and see what happens.
So if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones.
It's what makes us different from the rest. That's why when we're in opposition, we don't spend our time just maligning people and cussing people. We go out and help people. This is COVID time. Instead of some people come and help every day, they're on the radio cussing people. Now, how does that make you a politician? Cussing people? Well, see, cussing will get you.
It is most astonishing that this Prime Minister continues to have convenient lapses of memory when it suits him. Anytime the Prime Minister accuses anyone, look out. It is him who is the perpetrator. Folks, remember that the NDC was confronted by government officials to discontinue the school feeding program to students in need. And they pretended that...
You see,
sorry, let me just listen to the Minister of National Security.
Advise the police that I see no point in going and you see a brother smoking a joint of marijuana and you're trying to arrest him. And, you know, to me, there are a lot more important things to arrest people for.
Prime Minister Mitchell said all drugs, including alcohol, have a negative effects on one's health. Thus, marijuana should not be singled out.
The fact is, marijuana is known as a drug. We have to accept that. Cigarette is also known as a drug. Alcohol is also a drug, right? We accept all those. We don't have laws against the use of alcohol. We don't have laws against the use of cigarettes. but we have laws historically against marijuana.
Grenada, he
Now, I just want to comment real quick on that. So here we have the Minister of National Security, the Prime Minister, saying that he met with the hierarchy of the Royal Grenada Police Force. And he, as the Minister of National Security and as the head of his political party, the Prime Minister of Grenada, has said, and this is documentation, advised the hierarchy of the Royal Grenada Police Force to not arrest persons for marijuana. But it remains on the books that that is what type of offense it is. It is one that somebody could be fined or incarcerated for. This is what the police are doing. They are doing their job whilst this man sits in parliament able to pass legislation as he sees it fit. He is here on national TV running down the Royal Grenada Police Force, discrediting them for doing a job that he and we, the people of Grenada, have employed them to do, to execute the laws of our country. Bills, instead of wasting time when he goes into that expensive parliament building, which we did not need, right? He could simply go and change the law as he normally does when it comes to seatbelt, anything that has to do with making money for him or the Ministry of Finance, wherever he puts that money that he collects from the people of Grenada and that VAT, that form of VAT and so forth, right? Anytime he sees it fit to connect finances, he's able to do so. What the Prime Minister needs to tell people that he needs to blame himself. He has been a part of government for the last couple decades, and he has not put forward any bill to support any youth who has been arrested or sent to Her Majesty's prison, anyone that has been fined for a piece of marijuana, whatever the case is. He has not done anything to do so. Is it fair to the Royal Grenada Police Force to have this corrupt 74-year-old man sitting there in a town hall meeting, making it seem as though the police are just acting um, to their own liking? This is the law. This is the law, and this is the problem we are having in Grenada. We have too many persons like Keith Mitchell just picking and choosing what laws they wish to follow at whatever time it is convenient to them. This is the problem that we are having. This is why one poor, unfortunate Grenadian lady was fined, and she was also for taking a bucket of sand off of the beach. But then we had an Egyptian billionaire who was able to remove sand from the Grandans beach, loads of sand, dig up the beach, and erect illegal buildings on the same Grandans beach because the Minister of Physical Planning, who is also Pete Mitchell, allowed that to continue, right? But he did not bring any excuses for the poor lady who came to get some sand to try to build a home to survive, to get some shelter. What is really happening here, right? What kind of man is this? Telling the people in a town hall meeting that he doesn't see why it is fit for police officers to arrest people for marijuana when he has the resources and the power to change those laws. Is he next going to ask police officers to stop running down persons who are breaking other laws? Is he going to do that as well? This is not the first time this man has made excuses for person breaking laws. When the Egyptian billionaire from Silver Sands broke that physical planning law, we had the Prime Minister coming to his defense and saying that the man made a mistake. This is what the Prime Minister of Grenada said. The man made a mistake. Why did he not say that that poor, unfortunate lady who needed some sand to build somewhere so she could get some shelter, why did he not say that she was desperate or that she made a mistake, right? There's too much corruption in this country, especially on the Keith Mitchell and the Peter David and all these people who neglect the laws, right? The Attorney General, all of these people who are there, right? They are an embarrassment to the people of Grenada, an embarrassment to the Constitution of Grenada. Um, Although we came from a situation that seemed back in 1972, 1973, thereabout, when we came from a situation which seemed like, it would not get any worse. Sorry, 1982, 1983, thereabout, before I was born, in the revolution time. Persons expected that that democracy that Mr. George spoke about, it would have been fulfilled. It would have become a reality by 2020. But indeed, what has happened? We have had worse. And that clip that was made. I'm seeing the NDC logo there. That first clip that you made, and it's very, things like that. They need to be taken seriously. The Prime Minister came up with this response to a reporter. Don't go there. And too many times we are seeing persons, especially persons who should know better, making a joke out of this corruption about the many ways that lives are affected by the corruption in this country. But instead, what they're doing, they're making it a joke and using back the same foolish slogans about don't go there and so on. And I would say publicly that I have never been a supporter of the NNP or the NDC. And people need to wake up, right? Because George Prison might have had a better understanding of what democracy is. But NBC today is not George Prison, and people really need to wake up and stop this foolish talk about I am an NDC, I am an NNP, right? Time has passed and things change, right? And that is what we need to do. We need to start voting on policies and so forth. This place we have there, what do you call this thing there, this arm of the NNP, the elections office, it is a joke. We have so many people in Grenada. When you go into a political rally for NNP and NEC, you have people drinking alcohol. This is what is happening. They're drinking alcohol, and then you are asking people, right? You are asking people to make decisions, life changing decisions, whilst they are under the influence of alcohol. This is why politics in Grenada is such a big joke, right? We have so many people here in Grenada, their only focus has been on Donald Trump. For the last couple months, it has been on Donald Trump and what Donald Trump is doing. But we have Keith Mitchell in Grenada, who is affecting the lives of every Grenadian. And even without them knowing it, they are victims. Harriet Tubman said that she would have been able to free many more slaves if they had realized that they were enslaved. And we have too many people in Grenada who have not recognized that they have been mentally enslaved for a bottle of alcohol, for a shot of rum that costs $4 or $2.50. That is what is happening in Grenada. That is why the hospital remains the way it is. That is why we have an innocent asylum seeker in Her Majesty's prison, because no one is placing any focus, any of the needed focus on areas which matter, right? We continue selling ourselves for as little as we could get. It is very shameful. It is a disgrace. Very obscene.
Hudson, where are you?
All said a whole mouthful. What he said makes sense. But being as a living in a foreign land and are exposed to what I will call, even though North America, Canada is a racist place and we have systematic racism, which I do agree in terms of job as a black person, there's job you wouldn't get, and maybe the police will hustle you more based on your race. But over a period of time, now police don't stop you on the street as before. All these things are all off now. So we could breathe a little bit more. They don't mark you for who and say stereotype blacks for smoking marijuana. And if you do a real research on who smoked the most marijuana in North America, white people smoke more marijuana because they have more money to buy. But black people like to show themselves. So it appear like they smoke more. But going back to Grenada, in terms of Grenadian, they say Grenadians sell a vote for alcohol. I don't really think so. I think what happened in Grenada is that we only doing the stats now on alcohol. Grenadians have been drinking a high amount of alcohol for hundreds of years, but nobody never take note to it. I know people in Grenada when I was growing up as a boy. They will go to church, and when they're coming home, the men they buy their rum to go home and drink. I know ladies we used to gather to drink, but now the young girls, they don't gather to drink in location. They go to the rum shop to drink because women are more liberation. So people already sell they vote for rum. I don't really believe that. What I believe is happening in Grenada is that Grenada doesn't have enough activities for people. For instance, I've been to Antigua already, I've been to Barbados, I've been to Trinidad, I've been to Venezuela as Caribbean places. Even though Venezuela is a South American country, it is in the Caribbean. I've been to this place and I see that people have got activities to enjoy. Whilst in Grenada, activities are limited. And because activities are limited, people turn to drinking more. For example, in Grenada, they've been fooled and tell them we have a Christian society. They say Grenada has got increase in rape. And if you oppose the government, you're glad to say, oh, there is increase in rape in Grenada. What cause if Grenada got an increase in rape? Where is the activities for young men? A man who has money in Grenada could have 10 girlfriends and a wife because he got money. An unemployed guy maybe can't get a girlfriend because he had no money. But maybe if he was living in another island where sex is more liberal, he might rape. But everything is under strict rules, and you say you got a Christian society. That is my point on it. Grenadians have limited access, so they turn to drinking.
You've activated Melvaughn now. This is his favorite topic.
Next thing again in Grenada.
Yes.
The Kid Mitchell. I never support the NDC government. Never. You know why I never support them?
Why?
I'm a very sensitive person. I was raised in a GNP home. Those days you had GNP and golf. And my father was a GNP. And when we get older, we ask him why he's a GNP. I wasn't 20 years yet. And we ask with father, why you are GNP? And we tell him we find GNP people are very conservative people. And they never create anything to attract the poor people who are the working class people who used to vote Gary. And growing up, you heard us say Gary people ignorant and Gary people stupid. Well, okay. Gary people was the less educated people. And Gary still even though Gary, people were less educated, but Gary is the guy who led the only successful revolution in Grenada. We don't have to go to no big power to get guns. Bishop went to go to Cuba and he get guns. And he jailed all the Jewel guys who he formed an alliance with. We had a group called MAP. MAP had no support in town, in St. George's. Bishop became popular when he joined the Jewel. And they say NJM. But he had a plan B. He never liked Jewel people. Bishop wasn't grassroots here. He had an ideology. So then he went to Cuba, and when Castro give him enough guns, he went to Libya, he get things from Russia, he have enough arms, he turned on the Jewel guys, and he set up what he was heading Marxism, and he's getting things from Cuba, and Russia, and East Germany, and Libya, and other countries. Gary wasn't getting nothing from nowhere. But Gary was able to rule until he go out of hand. So what with the NDC party? The NDC is no different from the GNP party. There are NDC activists who wouldn't come on alive with me. Like how you see I'm on alive with all and MELVAUGHN.
Mm-hmm.
There are NDC activists who wouldn't go on alive with us. They think that they are superior to people like me and MELVAUGHN and all. I know that. I won't call their name. And because of their attitude, they scared the poor people to go to Kit Mitchell. But Kit Mitchell himself now is also being exposed, even though he knows how to keep the poor people to vote for him. He doesn't like poor people either. Because if he had liked poor people, the money he is borrowing from China to do all this thing at the airport, the international airport. Kit Mitchell was supposed to build a hospital somewhere in St. Andrew, which is this most central part of Grenada. So if you get a heart attack in St. Patrick, or in St. Andrew, which is 35 square miles, or you get a heart attack in the northern part of St. David, or even St. Mark, you could be rushed to that hospital in that central part of Grenada.
Okay.
And you could get medical help, and you might survive the heart attack.
Great. I've got to stop you there because I want to. Hold on, Melville's got a point to make very quickly.
Okay.
Melville?
Okay. I could go into thing, but the topic what we be put up, we was going on discuss what was sent out to me. I believe we should need to go back on that according to what I see the message.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So let me go back on the asylum seekers. I said,
Okay.
Africa right now is willing to accept us. Not accept us. We are African. Okay. I know if you guys know, if the Zionists didn't take the land in the Middle East where they put Israel right now, and they call Jerusalem where they're fighting for, that would have been in Suriname in the Caribbean here. Suriname, always part of the South America continent, but Suriname, them Jews would have been there. Okay, and we all, whether you go Brazil or wherever it is, African is African. If it was a white person up in the prison there, you would have seen that different. If it was one of them India, there's an Indian guy, I think Michael Baptiste was talking about, and I can remember the time it happened. He used to sell clothes in St. Paul's to a girl, and then he ended up marrying the girl ran and married to him. It was a Friday around 11 o'clock. This girl was butchered. Okay? The man ran away, they pick him up in England, and they bring him back here. Grenada has to sign a paper that they wouldn't hang him. No. Every day that man spent in the prison up there, we as taxpayers had us to pay for it. Now, I think it's 8 how much years he get for the crime he committed, and he's out. He go back, he married one of his people from India, and he living a nice life in Grenada, have his store and living happy and whatever it is. Why it is our people coming here and we treating them that way? And I could talk for myself. My parents is Grenadian. I happen to born in Trinidad, but I grew up in Grenada. I was in Grenada since I was a year. I grew up in Grenada. Okay, I went kindergarten school in Grenada. I went Palmer school, and then with the whole uprising here with Gary and Gary father and the uproar in St. George's, I migrated back out in the father, and I always been backward. And for 1990, I come back home. I don't need to be here. I could have been in the States, carve U.S. citizenship. I choose not. But the point I'm making, I could tell you about discrimination because I've been shooting Grenada. In Trinidad, I'm a Grenadian. In Grenada, I'm a Trinidadian. So I have no land. So I know what is discrimination. And I face discrimination in this place here daily. I come up with ideas. You try to work, you go to the prime minister, you go to the minister, the present minister, which is Cox. He never met with me one with all the work I do out here. The MLMP, I could call all of them from since they come in office. You ask to meet with them, you try to do things in the community, and when you bring ideas to them, they take it and do it for themselves. Now, we keep on going on. So you have an African brother come through here. Why it is we put him in the prison? Why? And the Church Council of Grenada and all of the Pentecostal Society and the 7 days and all these setup, you ever hear any one of these people saying anything? Every day they praying. There's them calling the radio every morning praying. You ever heard any one of these people saying anything about these things? Why? When we going to stop the hypocrisy and be, you talk about country first before self. Where is the country? What we actually doing to this little rock we living on? When it will stop?
Well, what needs to happen is you need to ask these pastors and these preachers and all these people. I see every Sunday you have something in the church on Grenada. Why don't you ask these people who are taking you to do these services what their opinion is and what's going on? Why you ask them?
They don't talk to people like me, so they discriminate against people like me, as I tell you. I need to wait. I need to do a show, Earl, with you guys. And I'm going to do a PowerPoint presentation for the last 20 years, what I've been trying to do to Grenada. All the letters that I wrote, I'm going to do a PowerPoint presentation because I'm preparing it and show the GIDC, which you're telling people to bring your ideas to, a business plan I have from them, and how it moved again. I moved to sports, asked for assistance. It was approved. You go to education, it's approved. You go back to agriculture, all of them, and all of a sudden they take what you've been trying to do and all the work and money you spending, working and building and energy, create SIAP, which is a family of the same leader of the country, and cousins and this one and past members of the Ministry of Agriculture. And today, they haven't engaged me up to now. No. It go on and on. I could go on and on. And you're talking about on one of the town hall, they talk about Grenadian come up with ideas. The GIDC name, the Smart Grenadian program was called, the SIA program was called, Youth Empowerment was called. And when you read them document, the exact document I give to them, the prison. So it's a crime was committed to me. I bring it to the NDC. None of them never call me up to today, the Claudette, the Franca. I give all of them a copy and I say, look, read this document. I've been to the Attorney General office. And it come back again to discrimination.
Yeah, we know. I know.
Why is discriminating against a group of people and you're talking about country before self and all Grenadians, okay? And you're preventing people from look at Earl. Earl say everything is not okay with Earl. Earl have a little baby. Earl is not working nowhere. You prevent him from getting a job. And most of the people in Grenada that are working, check the Attorney General. He migrated from a country here, he and his wife, and they have a job. And they're working with the same government and receiving taxpayers' money. And
the Irish lady working for the head of tourism.
And then the same person also have one of my black brother in prison because he's the person advise him. They had a next person, they create what they call it the tourism authority. The two person that lead the tourism authority Two of them come from outside of Grenada. So why it is Grenadians who have sense to manage their affairs? One was a Bajan, one is somebody from Ireland, and the next one again is an ex-Bajan. So what happened to our people? And if you go again, we have a commissioner of police receiving salary and he's not allowed to do his job. You have a next one there because he might be a little, when he stand up next to me, he look like the light behind me. So therefore he gives me opportunity. But the point is, we're discriminating against our own people for what reason? Why it is we doing this kind of thing? And it is happening. You understand? And it go back to the tourism industry. Who really benefiting from tourism? Not us. This is everybody business. But we not benefiting. We're not benefiting at all. Because they say not man that sharing bread is God. But when God share the bread, somebody catching it and they giving who they want in Grenada because it doesn't reach us.
Mm-hmm.
All the road work that is going on, all the construction. I into skill. I'm a skilled person. Okay? I'm not just, I could do things with my hand. I could do therapy. I could teach. I know all different type of art. I'm a painter. Just name it. Okay? Why it is you bring things to these people. You ask me to the minister. You ask me to the PS. They have youth officer. Even the same woman. She's spending time to make a mask to put on the local people child face. And she can meet the people in mind to talk and see how we could work and help the youth. And she's a person, she's a youth minister. You understand? So where we really going? Why it is we continue discriminating against our people? Why? Why we continue doing it? How much
Let me
men in prison are
wait.
compared to women?
We have 400, approximately 470 men at Her Majesty's prison.
How
Let me
much
ask
On
women?
you.
any given
Wait.
day,
Wait. How much women?
Let me
five
ask
or
the question here. Why do you continue to trust and seek what's the word? Seek acknowledgement from a set of people that haven't got the class or haven't got the integrity to respect what's yours and credit you for it. Why?
We have to
Why?
continue. It has to continue because Black
Listen.
Lives Matter. It
Yeah,
has to change.
listen, it has to change. Listen, the way you make an old world defunct is to create a new world. These people are in power and allowed to be in power and allowed to continue the stuff that they do is because you keep going to them saying they are the power, they're in control. They can only be in power and they can only
Well,
serve if the people of Grenada allow it to be.
the only how,
When,
the only
when,
how, the
when
only
the
how
people
is
say stop, no more. When the people say stop, no more, and they make changes, they say stop, no more. We don't acknowledge you no more. We can't trust you no more. We give you our ideas and you take them and you don't give us credit.
but Ingram, imagine that isn't even the worst part. The worst part is that Master Coutain, as we all know, is a martial arts a master in martial arts, a specialist. This is a gentleman with many talents. One who has been able to cure persons with sciatica. That's with the sciatic nerve where persons are unable to walk and move around properly. For those who are not aware, Master Coutain has cured many persons, including myself, when it comes to doing this therapy that he speaks of and so forth. And the worst part is that Master Coutain furnished the Grenadian government, the authorities, with his brilliant idea of how to change the perspective of the youth and the personality of the youth from one negative, or many negatives, I should say, from many negatives to positives, right? From his Big Brother programs and so on. Now, they took Master Coutain's proposal. They took this gentleman's plan. They took his proposal, his business plan, and then they had the audacity to tell Master Coutain, right, that he is the one at fault. He should have copywritten his document when he presented it to them. Now, if we knew what we knew at the time, if Master COUTAIN knew what he knew at the time, that these persons were of no
Criminals.
integrity, they were criminals, he would not have gone down the route of just bringing forward the proposal.
And
He
that's the
may have
reason.
copyrighted. But if you cannot trust the public servants, the persons in authority, then what kind of country do we have where persons
Listen,
are
The
stealing
National
ideas and selling them?
I also went to the Ministry of Sports and met with the famous Emmeline Pierre, but my stuff was copyrighted, so they didn't try it.
You understand?
They didn't try it.
Yeah.
Brother Hudson mic muted.
So you need to go on the ombudsman.
Yeah,
You could hear me?
yeah, we hearing you now.
Now the culture of robbing people's property rights in Grenada don't only start yesterday. Now give me 5 minutes or 4 minutes to explain it.
That's too
I'm
long.
going to break it down in a slippery slope.
2 minutes.
Okay, 3
You got
minutes.
2 minutes.
To,
2 minutes.
in a slip.
2 minutes.
In a
3 minutes is too long.
Yeah.
And stay on topic.
Okay, we're dealing with we're starting with the NGM. The NGM was the only grassroots party that ever formed in Grenada after the Grenada United Labour Party. It was hijacked by intellectuals. They used the NGM. The Jewel movement was the only grassroots party ever formed in Grenada after the Grenada United Labour Party. And it was hijacked by intellectuals and after March 13, there was no more Jewel movement / NGM. It became PRG. That was a stole part of our history. Also, in Grenada, when it's entertainment time in Grenada, the people who kept the culture of Grenada in traditional mass, whether it's shot me, jab jab, veko, sweet mass, Kariku Shakespeare, Wild Indian, whatever mass culture they kept, they are not allowed in the media to present the masquerade talent. You have so-called educated people will go to those people and ask them about the culture and go in the media and talk about it, but they won't allow those people to talk about the culture. That is the next aspect of stealing people things. And what we have now is a lot of people with PhD and perhaps master's degrees, and they are credited. So if you go to them with your proposals and so, they will steal your ideas and come forward with it and present it like if it's theirs, but it's not theirs. So this is the trend in Grenada, but it comes from the so-called, the intellectuals are the ones who are doing it, because they think, because they are intellectuals, they have a right to claim other people's creativity. That's all I have to say. You hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Master COUTAIN said, we need to touch on the ombudsman a bit as it was advertised. I think
Yes.
we're over.
Let's do
by
the
20
let's do the ombudsman. Let's go. Come on.
we over about 28 minutes. We could put that for next week. But in wrapping up, because the battery is
Okay.
it's about to go. What I want to
Okay.
say, and I'm glad to have Brother Hudson here. I have been doing a project for a lady and her 3 children. Her name is Davina Lewis.
Yes.
She appeared on GBN News about a month or so ago, and due to that, myself and a gentleman who you might be aware of, Denison George, who lives in America, we have taken up the task, which is a privilege, to help any Grenadian national or any human being, as a matter of fact. We have taken up that privilege of assisting that young lady and her 3 children. One child is 4, the next one is 2, and the final one is 6 months now, a 6-month baby. The condition they have been living in, it is not only dehumanizing, but it is very mortifying to see the state vehicles that the government officials are driving in. It is very embarrassing to see the parliament building and the place where the governor general and prime minister and all these other persons are living when their rents are being paid, their gas is being paid. And we have persons in Grenada in 2020 living in a place that could be compared to a fig stool. Right? Now, the thing is, Brother Hudson, we need some assistance. We need the people from the diaspora channel all the assistance that they have been sending to Grenada to somewhere that it will be used to benefit the people of Grenada. I know many persons have been sending things through the Ministry of Health and so forth. In fact, that gentleman, Denison George, sent 2 dialysis machines through the Grenadian Embassy to the Ministry of Health. And these 2 dialysis machines mysteriously disappeared after being handed over to the Grenadian embassy in America. It mysteriously disappeared. To this date, there has been no account for those dialysis machines. Many persons have sent wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, and various items to the Ministry of Health. But guess what? When you go there, sometimes there's only 2 or 3 wheelchairs. Sometimes the nurses at accident and emergency room have to go to the male ward, the male surgical ward, or the maternity ward, or wherever, to get a wheelchair from down there. The one single uno wheelchair that department has, that part has, and bring it to the accident and emergency room to wheel somebody who needs to be wheeled, right? So besides the short staff and everything, we don't even have the things that persons are donating. So what I'm saying, Brother Hudson, we have reached as far as we have done a foundation for 20 by 20, right? We have put on the roof and everything. I'll send you the pictures. We need some assistance with material. What I have done, I have started an account at LL Ramdani. So persons can go directly to LL Ramdani and put money there on that account. So we could just take off the material, take material for that money to put into the house. So, Brother Hudson, I'm hoping that you could gather resources or people, sponsors, send some money down to LL Ramdani or whatever it is, or get family members here to call me up and say, look, I have a piece of plywood. This is where it is, da 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 da, and we could finish that house for the lady. It is something that we want to continue doing under Project FEC. And Project FEC was started by myself as the Grenada Empowerment Movement. It is the provision of food, emotional support, clothing, toiletries to the unfortunate persons in Grenada without any political ties. This is not where something is only being done for the people of Grenada every 4 to 5 years when an election is nearby, when it is in season. This is something that is needed. Unfortunately, I do not have the funds to start a homeless shelter for all these unfortunate people that have been seeking the assistance of the Ministry of Housing and so forth. but we can only do as much as we can do. And I would really appreciate the assistance from you. I know that in the diaspora you would be aware of persons who normally send their things wherever. We need to focus there. I want to get that project completed and move on to assisting other persons. And I want to make an appeal to the people in the diaspora, right? Stop wasting your time and sending things through the government, because it does not go to the persons who really need it. It does not go to the persons who really need it. It goes to many supporters and so on. It has been evident since 2004, after Ivan had passed through Grenada, right? We had many tarpaulins sitting in the yards of ministers and so on, whilst other persons, was people were wetted. They didn't have any place to sleep and so on. We had ministers just holding on to tarpaulins and so on, just to give their supporters to get a next vote for the next election, right? So guys, it has been a pleasure. Next week we can discuss the ombudsman. As I have promised, we have invited the department, the Royal Grenada Police Force, to come onto the program. I personally spoke to Mr. Vani Cohen, Commissioner Edwin Martin. Mr. Cohen advised me that members of the Royal Grenada Police Force would appear on the show. When they do come, what I would like to do is use that time to allow Grenadians to understand the process, or the processes when dealing or reporting corrupt activities within the Royal Grenada Police Force. And I will, as usual, would assist persons who need to report such activities, such corrupt activities, because we do not have many persons in authority who have that integrity and that morality to actually try to allow persons to achieve that much needed justice that we have in Grenada. That is why there's so much corruption. That is why we could have a gentleman sitting in Her Majesty's prison over 400 and something days, as an asylum seeker. That is why we have dialysis machines going missing when sent to the Grenadian embassy in America, right? Um, but as I said, I will remain hopeful. I want to encourage the people of Grenada to, open your eyes and look at what is happening in Grenada and speak about it. There's a man who might be rotting in prison, an asylum seeker. It could be us next. If the government is bold enough to hold an international citizen at Her Majesty's prison without counsel, without their attorney, without anything, imagine what the government of Grenada would do to the citizens of Grenada, who it already has all that authority over. Imagine that. And let us end this tragedy of treason to democracy. Let us do something, and let us do something now. There's a petition online. We are asking persons to come together and to stand in solidarity with this gentleman who has been incarcerated at the filthy facility of Her Majesty's prison for all this time. There have been many appeals to the government of Grenada, through the Attorney General and everyone else who is in a position of power, right? Where we have been saying that this gentleman is not a criminal and he should not be recognized as a criminal. We have been told that the prison, Her Majesty's prison, is the only legal detention center here in Grenada. Now, that is saying to me that the government of Grenada has had 400, over 460 days to pass a piece of legislation to change that. They didn't even have to pass a piece of legislation. In a normal country where democracy prevails and humanity prevails, the immigration department would have a holding facility for persons who are coming to Grenada in that same type of nature, right? But in Grenada, whether you commit a crime or you commit a crime, you go into Her Majesty's prison. We're gonna lock you up there. We're gonna give you all the cavity searches, all the strip searches, and everything like that. I mean, it's terrible. We're gonna put you among persons who have killed and who have not killed. That is very unfair to the prison officers to have a gentleman like that there. They are already stressed. We have over 450 male inmates at Her Majesty's prison. At this current time, it is already overcrowded. Why are we sending asylum seekers there? Who are we going to send next? Are we going to take grandmothers who are walking across the roads, who are not using pedestrian crossings, and start sending them to Her Majesty's prison too? Is this what we really want? The saying has gone on many times. Many times, when you give an inch, they will take a mile. And that is what has been happening ever since. Government has been taken inches by inches until they have gone to this God complex that the Prime Minister now has, that he is the owner and the creator and savior of Grenada. And that needs to stop. That needs to stop. And it is up to us, as Ingram said, the people are the ones who should really be in authority. The government is a representative of the people. We have hired these individuals. And at this point in time, they need to be held accountable. Many times it is said that there's nothing to remove these corrupt individuals from these offices that they hold. But that is not true. A crime is a crime, and the police need their independence. The police prosecutor, the attorney general, the gentleman there, the public prosecutor, that DPP. If we had these independent officers, we would have been guaranteed that Keith Mitchell and all of his goons who partake in these corrupt activities, they would have been behind bars a very long time ago. And life in Grenada, as we once knew it, the beautiful Spice Isle, would have remained beautiful. It would have remained the Spice Isle. But that is not the case. That is why it is up to you, the people of Grenada, and the viewers, to assist us where the assistance is very much needed. We want to thank you for once again being here with us on Grenada Matters as we discuss and we relate all the tragedies that the people of Grenada are facing under this corrupt government, and what we have as a major opposition party which does nothing really in the interest of people. So, my people, once again, we are here. We will continue. We will see you next week. God bless.
Melvin?
Hi. Hudson,
Yeah. Um,
what are you drinking?
now,
Melvin,
What?
we're asking you. We're saying goodbye. So, Melvin.
Oh, no, I'm telling Hudson. I have this here. I don't know if you have it there. I have it under the counter
now
here. You
I
should
have
take
a
that
little
for the
bottle
cold.
of Grenada rum here too.
No, man. I
Oh,
start
Nice.
drinking this
Thank
and
you
oh
very
get
yeah,
much.
man. Yeah.
Wish
You
you
got
a very good
yeah,
night.
you're the thing there, man. Yeah, man. But
Yeah.
all
Hey, yes, sir.
now
Yes, sir.
I worked for 2 years dealing with refugees, you know, from
Yeah.
1989 to
Mhm.
1991.
Mhm.
I was a security guard at Pearson International Airport in Toronto, Mississauga area, taking refugees from a holding center. I was a guard there to take them to immigration hearing. I transport a lot of Chinese refugees during who run away from the Tiananmen Square. I know those jails in Toronto by transporting refugees. And the rules of refugees, when somebody claims refugee in a country, they're supposed to give them an immigration hearing. And if the person is not a criminal, they're not a wanted person by Interpol, you got to get somebody to stand a bond for them.
Yeah.
So after they get a bond, the judge let them free. And when they get a freedom, sometimes the judge gives them a work permit.
Yeah.
To find some kind of employment, and then they give them a date to come to court. Or sometimes they tell you, take a medical checkup. According to where you get a job, to know if you're healthy, you don't have no disease. And then they give you a work permit and you work, and sometimes you get a document. Most times the people get a document. But in Grenada, I think we are a little bit backward there. And as you said, as black people, we should treat the African people better. But then we have a government that you have guys in the government now that was once very much based the energy and ideology. And then as I get older, I come to realize that people with Marxist-Leninist ideology don't necessarily pro-black. Because if you look at most Caribbean Marxist people, you don't find too many black ones. That ideology attract people, the mulatto class or the people who look white. The only known black one we know in this time, and most Marxists say he was not a Marxist, was Walter Rodney. Most of those guys were of the old colonial class with comedy ideology. So I don't know if those guys within the old revolutionary guys who into the NNP party now, I don't know how they look at black people. They might talk about liberation, but I don't know. Because if you look at Angola, in Angola, even though the Portuguese was oppressing the Africans, the party that come to power in Portugal was the mulattoes. And the party that they call them was UNITA. The government in Angola sends the Angolan Revolution. And the leadership of the UNITA party are men, but they all were married to Portuguese women. And now the president resigned, Dos Santos resigned, and his deputy locked up Dos Santos' son, who is a mulatto guy. And Dos Santos' daughter, who is a mulatto woman, is the richest woman in Africa. They stole all the money. So this Marxist thing, I don't know if black Marxists don't attract into black women. It's just an ideology, and they take